So I kind of tore into the first Mega Man game in my first video on the franchise, and while I stand by most of my criticisms that I made of the actual game, I'm afraid I might have spread some misinformation about the Mega Man Legacy Collection. You see, one of my biggest criticisms of the first game was its poor performance, and while talking about it, I mentioned that a lot of people seem to complain about input lag, poor performance, and crashing in the Legacy Collection. At the time, I had never personally played the Legacy Collection, so I just took the top 2 reviews at face value and moved on with my life. Well, a couple of weeks later, Capcom had a huge sale, and I decided to buy Legacy Collection 1 and 2. After all, I planned on playing all of the Classic Series games, so this seemed like the most convenient option, and I have absolutely nothing negative to say about this collection. This is such a fantastic compilation. It looks amazing, has a ton of options, and even offers additional achievements and challenges. I replayed the first game because it's required for one of the achievements, and I wanted to test out the compilation. It was at this point that I realized you can turn off lag! Legitimately, it's a setting! This runs smooth as butter! I also took the time to test my theory that Mega Man would be more enjoyable with limited use of the rewind feature in saves, and yep, sure enough, much more tolerable. The Legacy Collection is, in my opinion, the definitive way to play the first 6 NES games. It's on every platform, and it is an absolute steal. Okay, so Mega Man 2, widely regarded as one of, if not the best, classic Mega Man games. It was the first game in the franchise to really do well in North America, and cemented the formula for future entries. Like, there are 8 Robot Masters this time, with an all-new set of stages, boss fights, special weapons, and items. Like in the first game, you can take on the stages in any order, and each Robot Master is weak to another Robot Master's special weapon. You'll spend the majority of your time in the stages, which in my opinion are much better than the first game. Not only do they look and sound a lot better, I mean seriously, this is a huge graphical upgrade, but they play a lot better too. I think a lot of this has to do with the shorter level length. Since there are 8 stages instead of 6, each stage is a little bit shorter, and as a result, it feels much more manageable on a first run. Like, in the first game, you were almost guaranteed at least 1 game over per level, not so much in Mega Man 2. Enemy placement feels less spammy, more intentional, like it might actually be possible to get through without taking damage if you're good enough. Okay, so maybe not that intentional. There's still plenty of essentially forced damage, but a lot less than in the original game. Deaths from knockback are also severely limited, which is nice. Everything feels much more fair. You remember how back in my first video I mentioned that even on a second playthrough of the first game, my death count stayed about the same. I plowed through my second playthrough of Mega Man 2, and it took like an eighth of the time. That's because all of the difficulty in Mega Man 2 doesn't come from the designers filling every screen with enemies that are nearly unavoidable and like to get behind your gun. More than likely, a large part of the increase in fairness has to do with much better performance. I hear that the performance in the original NES version is actually quite poor, even possibly worse than the first game, but I don't particularly care to do a full playthrough of that version to find out. And most people are going to play the Legacy Collection anyway, so I think the weapon balancing in this game is much better too. A lot of people will complain that the Metal Blade is practically a replacement for the Mega Buster, and yeah, that's true, but I used all of the special weapons way more than I did in the first game. In the first game, I can't think of a single instance of me using a weapon other than the Elect Beam outside of a boss fight. Just about every weapon in Mega Man 2 gets used at least once or twice in stages. Special weapons actually feel like an upgrade to your abilities instead of a key to get you past a boss fight. So the first 8 levels are vastly superior to the first game, but that all kinds of falls apart when you get to the Wily stages. These were the worst part of the first game, and in my opinion, they're the worst part of this game too. The stages themselves aren't actually that bad. The problem is this game's strange fascination with suicide. This game forces you to kill yourself a lot. A lot of the levels require, or essentially require, certain weapons to get through. But your weapon energy doesn't refill when you die, so more often than not, you'll run out of weapon energy before you run out of lives. When this happens, and it will, your best choice is to basically grind out a game over to refill your weapon energy. I actually found myself avoiding extra lives in some stages because I knew I would run out of weapon energy way before I could use all my lives, and it would just take me longer to get a game over. This is bad game design. Textbook bad game design. This game introduces a Mega Man series staple, the misleadingly named energy tank. You can hold up to 3 and they fully restore your health. Alright, I guess that's a nice boost to get through a tough boss fight, but I don't need more health, I need weapon energy. This was a problem in the original game too, but it feels a lot more pronounced here. Mega Man in general has this way of making you play the game more than you want to. Like, I don't want to have to do this entire level with the rail platforms and the spikes and the Mecha Joes every time I want to fight this nearly impossible boss, but I'm out of weapon ammo, so I guess this is what I'm doing today. I would still consider the Wily stages to be significantly better than in the first game. I really like the final stages that has you rematch all 8 Robot Masters. You can take them on in any order this time, and you already have every weapon, so just go off. In addition to that, the levels are much easier on a second playthrough. I did my first playthrough on difficult mode, then a second playthrough on normal mode, and then a third playthrough back on difficult, and prior experience helped a lot. But here's the thing. Most people are unlikely to bother playing a game they didn't like a second time. First impressions matter, and while Mega Man 2 manages to improve on the first game in almost every way, it still doesn't make a great first impression. I'm really looking forward to taking a look at the rest of the classic series. The foundation for a fantastic game is here, but there's still quite a bit to tweak before we can actually get there. With that being said, I highly recommend the Mega Man Legacy Collection on PC, PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, or even 3DS. I didn't really talk about this, but obviously for my playthroughs, I didn't use save states or rewind. But those are always here, and I would suggest you use them if you're a first-time player. Trust me, it's much more fun this way. Okay, so if all goes well, this will be my first video edited on my new editing software. Ideally, this will mostly just be a change on my end, allowing me to get through videos faster and without taking an hour to index gameplay footage. I'm really going to start trying my best to post on social media more often, so you should probably check me out on Twitter, Instagram, and Discord, all linked down below. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, drop a like and remember to subscribe. I upload a new video every single Saturday, so I guess that's about it. Thanks for watching.